I'm Josiah Rizzo.
I'm Benji Jones.
And on Wednesdays, we wear pink. What were you telling me about?
About how, when you're in church and the, pastor, the preacher, whoever is praying, and then they just start talking, and I'm like, amen is the word you're looking for, because I picture amen as the send button for a prayer. So I'm so if you're drafting an email and you don't press send, it's okay, well, it's not going to get to where it's going. So I'm like, amen, you're welcome, everyone in this church.
So you're telling me that if I was to say, all right, God, thank you for your peace. Hi, I'm Josiah Rizzo.
You didn't hear it. You have to say amen.
No, I'm Josiah Rizzo.
I'm Benji Jones.
And on Wednesdays, we wear pink. Amen.
Amen. Well, he just got all of that.
He got all of that. So it's kind of like whenever you drunk text somebody. It's just
exactly.
Blah, 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 blah. Amen.
Yeah, when you're sending a voicemail.
So you're telling me that you imagine our spiritual selves have cell phones.
They are spiritual emails, I believe. Yes,
spiritual emails, not text. We don't hit God up.
Texts are too casual. We're not hitting God with the "you up" text. I need to go to sleep tonight.
Gross.
It's not a booty call. It's a prayer call.
Ew, you giving God booty calls?
Prayer call.
All right, we should move back on. So, welcome to On Wednesdays We Wear Pink.
Welcome.
This is a pop culture podcast.
Yes.
Not a Mean Girls fan podcast.
Even though we are Mean Girls fans.
Absolutely.
But, who isn't? Of course.
Losers.
Oh, exactly.
Just kidding. No. We wanted to start this podcast because we have conversations.
Mm-hmm.
We talk.
Yeah, and we talk about fun stuff. We talk about movies, and we talk about the effects that they have on us. And
and I think that was the broader scope that I wanted to do. It wasn't going to just be me and you going so did you like it?
No.
I think that Marvel films are blah, 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 blah.
I also think that Marvel films are blah, 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 blah,
Well, I mean, we're definitely going to have thoughts, but we wanted to just broaden the scope to be more about how films are impacting or have impacted our lives.
Or we'll just talk about the movie and we'll go over it and talk about things that made us laugh.
Yes, absolutely.
That's what I'm going to be doing.
I mean, honestly, you're making a joke of that, but the truth is that's impactful in itself. There have been plenty of movies that have helped me through hard periods in my life. Mm-hmm. And, I'm not going to say I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be where I am today without these films, but in all honesty, I wouldn't be where I am today. Yeah. And that's good or bad. I had this sensation the other week where it was just I was looking back on my life. I'm like, this is my life.
Yeah.
The life I'm living is the life I have, and it's built up of these blocks that you can't change.
Yeah.
Better or worse, they're there. Some things are life circumstances, and other things are just I watched that one movie when I was 5 years old, and it's left an indelible print on me. So
I don't stop and think this is my life a lot, but when I do, it's after I've dropped a pizza that I just bought and I say, this is my life.
And do you ever think to yourself, how did I get here?
I do.
Did you ever see the movie Curious Case of Benjamin Button?
I did.
So the whole build up to Cate Blanchett's character, she gets paralyzed, right?
Oh gosh, I don't remember. I remember Brad Pitt was in it and his name was my name, and that's about it.
Got it.
Benjamin. He had a backwards,
which you never go by. You never go by.
Life. I go by different things by different people. My mom is the only person that calls me Ben. Don't know why, because she's the one.
I call you Benjamin when I'm mad.
Yeah. I feel
that makes us sound like a couple.
It's jokingly mad.
But as a friend or a couple, you don't know. But definitely
as a friend.
Out. No, but as a friend, I'm always Benjamin. But anyway, the point is, so Cate Blanchett's character gets hit by. Do you remember that whole scene? She gets hit by a car. You don't? Wasn't this whole analogy?
I'm sorry.
You might as well have just said no when I asked you if you've seen Curious Case of Benjamin.
Well, I have seen it. I didn't want to lie to you, but
all right. Well, there's this whole build up where it kind of shows you everything that built up to how Cate Blanchett's character gets hit by a car. It was she woke up at this time, and this character did this one thing, and this one character made a.
That's funny because I'll parallel that with another movie that when you said car crash, I was gonna say it's Age of Adeline, which is not the biggest cultural impacting movie, but for some reason I've seen it 4 times because I love it.
I was actually surprised at how much I liked that film.
Yeah, it's Blake Lively. You just can't go wrong with
I
her
actually
in
think
anything.
The biggest success of that film was Harrison Ford, who
Oh,
his performance.
He
I
was
like,
in it. He was in that.
Was in that.
Yeah.
But what were you gonna say? Is it? Have the same thing?
It's basically the thing where they're like, the day that Adeline Bowman was running late, she decided to get in her car at 4:04, and then that's exactly when the light was struck, and blah blah blah. So
all that to ask. Do you ever do that when you drop a pizza on its face and think?
Absolutely not. See, I don't replay every event. Like, this is because I was 5 minutes late and I was rushing. I tripped over this curb and dropped my pizza. I just go, why? And then I think go get another one.
That's a fundamental difference between you and I. Is like you'll literally cry over spilled milk and then move on.
That was so great.
And I get super existential and go. Why is the milk spilled? Or what is milk?
Why do I need milk?
Well, I guess if we want to tell the audience about ourselves, we've already told them kind of what to expect from this podcast. We should explain who we are, and I honestly think that you need to explain to them how you did, as previously mentioned, literally cry
over spilt milk.
Yes.
Okay.
Because that's probably one of my favorite stories of yours.
Well, I'm Benji.
Oh, hi. Hi.
I am me. And I grew up in Texas. I moved out here around 23, pursue acting, blah, 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 blah.
You're setting up the milk event.
Everybody's story in LA. I baked the cookies in the oven, and the timer dung, and I put a glass of milk in the freezer because I like my milk to be ice cold. Like, it needs to hit this perfect. All of my drinks have
I was like, all your drinks, I will constantly open up my freezer and be like, the hell is this? When did I get half of these drinks? And every time you're over, you pull a new drink out of the freezer. I'm just like, when did he have time? And it's cold too. And I'm like, was he here 2 hours before?
No, I have to put all of my drinks in the freezer because I like them to be right on the cusp of frozen. Like, I like them to be icy.
I love to take other people's drinks because they've sat outside they've become sweaty. And
they look good because they're
there's somebody else's.
They're dewy.
So that's my quirk.
You have a problem with taking other people's stuff. Like, seriously.
You should continue your story and stop pausing.
No, I was actually telling the story and you kind of hopped in there. But anyway, so I like my drinks to be icy.
Okay.
I put the milk in in the perfect timing.
Got it.
The cookies were coming out they were hot, they were fresh. I put them on a plate. It was perfect. They were fresh and soft. And then I went to my milk, and my milk was chilling in the freezer. I bring it out of the freezer, and it's perfectly icy. I sit down with my milk and my cookies, and I go to grab the milk, and I hit it with my hand, and the milk falls and spills all over the table. And I just went and I just broke down because I knew it was going to be at least another 15 minutes for a new glass to chill, and in that time my cookies would get cold, and I just had to let it go. It's nothing to do about it. But yeah, that's me.
I know. I was thinking halfway through while you were telling the story, I was like, this is a fantastic story. And I bet people will be like, what does this have to do?
I know, right?
Well, watch this. I'm going to bring it back.
Bring it back.
Cried over spilled milk. Where did that phrase come from?
Is that from a
No, I totally
movie?
know the answer. Do not pay attention to me looking it up right now.
I was about to say, I was like, do you?
I totally know
do you
the
know
answer.
It's from a movie?
Our listeners, for all they know, I know the answer.
You absolutely.
Those watching on those who are watching on YouTube, they do not see you. They can actually see.
Well, they can't technically see you typing or looking anything up. They just see you looking at your screen.
Well, I'm not finding anything on where it comes from. But the point is isn't it crazy to think of all these things that we say that years ago someone mentioned, or it was in a film, or it was from a commercial. There's a lot of things that we quote from. Have you ever heard the phrase, "Where's the beef"?
Oh yeah, that's from
that Wendy's commercial.
Yeah,
it's always referenced by people who do marketing.
Yeah, it's I've heard that a lot.
They're like, it was a terrible marketing campaign because nobody remembers. I was like, that marketing campaign
was flawless.
It was like one of those pills that has a release timer. So it might not have worked when they did it, but it damn sure works now.
It stayed.
I remember Wendy's.
Powder.
Where's the beef? It has the staying powder.
Can
I get some of that staying powder?
Yeah, I want staying powder.
How much does that cost?
Or the one that I feel like most of my friends like to quote is the You doo-doo head cootie
Oh,
queen.
yes.
Pickle you kumquat.
You lint liquor.
That one. I love that commercial.
God, there is so. Oh no,
But that one is Trident, right?
No, that
or Dent.
I don't remember. It's one of those gum commercials.
It was the one Orbit. That's it.
I'll do you one better.
I know that one.
I got to reenact this entire commercial for somebody about a month ago, and it felt like a privilege. And I was like, okay, I'll just.
Did you film it? I was like, did I see this?
No. So, berries and what?
Oh gosh.
Berries and cream.
Disgusting.
I'm a little lad who loves berries and cream.
Ew.
Pause. They don't realize what's going on.
Yeah.
Berries and cream. I'm a little lad who loves berries and cream.
That's
Starburst.
obnoxious.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I have heard that commercial before. I've seen.
Yeah, I was about to say. There was this other one. Wrigley's. It was like, sharing is caring. It can be fun. Did you ever see that one?
No.
It's literally this whole commercial. Like, I think they're in a school, and there's this whale mascot.
Oh, right.
And
Sharing and caring.
And he's like trying to sing this song about like you should share.
Gosh.
You're not double mint. It was the yellow one.
Wrigley's.
Is that Wrigley's?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he was like trying to, and it literally
Juicy
ends with him.
fruit.
Yeah, juicy fruit.
Juicy fruit.
It literally ends with him tackling her, or one of them tackles the other.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, like, give me that damn fruit, juicy, fruity bubble gum. The point is,
apparently this is a commercial podcast now.
all I'm saying is, like, these things have left an impact on me. I don't know how they've shaped my future,
but they definitely.
but they're there.
Yeah, they have
like,
a lasting impact.
It's like that whole thing in Inside Out, where it's just like you can remember that bubblegum memory.
Oh my gosh, so funny.
It's so funny because it's so
absolutely true.
It's funny because it's true.
It's true. It's true.
And that right there, I mean, that's insane. Like, how many times are we going to be dropping like unknowingly dropping Family Guy references, Vines,
nonstop on my end, I'll tell you.
Hello. It's like the Vine nobody knows.
Right. It's anyways for those those Vine watchers, you'll enjoy his little Vine references.
There's not little Vine references. They're ginormous Vine references, and it's crazy because that's only like about 3-4 years old.
Yeah, and it only lasted like a year.
I got on the train a lot later than most people. Mm-hmm. But these, like, I look at my life and I actually remember my life, and I could tell you almost where I was for every year of my life based on the films or commercials or songs that were out at that period.
Absolutely. I know you do that because every time I ask like a certain question about like when something was released or mm-hmm. like what you were doing, like, oh, what were you doing when you were 14? And you're like, oh, what was that? 2004? Well, like, this has just come out and like I was doing this, and I'm like, what? Like, it's a very interesting way that your brain remembers things, and that's really awesome because my brain isn't like that at all. I have absolutely no frame of time. Like, I have no time reference. When somebody asked me where I was yesterday, I'm like, I couldn't tell you.
I mean, yeah, it's like, it's very Rain Man of me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll remember specific things by that system, mm-hmm. but then try to ask me anything else, I'm like, don't ask me. Okay, the first year I remember being conscious of the film industry in general. Like, mm-hmm. I was always fascinated by film. I made my own short films when I was a kid. I grew up out here in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. It was only about when I was 9 that I moved to Texas. But in the interim, while I was like growing up out here, I consciously remember seeing my first film in theaters, which was Toy Story. That would have been 1995.
See, I couldn't tell you the first movie I saw in theaters. And I almost couldn't tell you the last movie I saw in theaters, except we just saw it, 3 days ago?
Actually, I can't remember. What did we just see?
We saw Shazam.
Shazam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was pretty
good. It
was
a fun movie. We'll talk about it later. Anyways.
Will we? Does it merit being talked about later?
I don't. At some point, we'll get to it, probably.
So, 1995, I see Toy Story. Don't remember 96. Don't remember 97. 98, I see A Bug's Life. You're looking to see if we're still recording.
No, I'm just saying I've got to give the watchers something special. Got to give them a face every now and then.
I'll give them a graphic.
Okay.
Literally a middle finger just covering your face the entire time. I literally blur your face out. Okay, wait. No, I was talking.
95.
Excuse me. Could you not interrupt me while I'm telling a story?
Actually interrupted yourself, technically.
So, 98. Now, 98, I was a kid. And I was going to this church, and there was a guy, his name was Pastor Eric, who we hope to have on the show later. He undoubtedly is one of the biggest influences in my life when it comes to film. This is a Marvel movie Disney nerd. And just he loves film. He loves everything that has to do with film. You can ask him about anything. He knows the impact that film has had.
It's awesome. So we'll have him on for Shazam.
God, no. What a waste. So this guy, he used to be the youth leader of our church, and he would get these groups together to go see movies. And in 1998, Bug's Life was coming out, and we actually got a whole group together, and we went to the El Capitan Theater.
Yes.
On Hollywood Boulevard.
I've been there.
You've been there twice.
Yes.
I took you to see Star Wars.
And my favorite Halloween movie ever, Hocus Pocus. Keep going.
Do you have other Halloween favorites?
Not really, no.
I mean,
like, there are other Halloween
it's just one of your favorite movies, right?
Yeah, true.
So we go to the El Capitan. Now we're waiting in line, and they have like one of those like ushers who's probably like 20 years. Actually, he's probably a lot younger than 20. Either way, he's like doing quizzes and like asking trivia, and we answer it, and he'll give us buttons. And I still have buttons from these films that I went and saw at the El Capitan.
Legit.
So then we go inside the theater, and then they're on the stage. There's an older man who's playing a I was about to say harmonica. Can you imagine just going into a theater and this guy's on a harmonica, and you're like, no, he's playing an organ, which is really amazing.
Yeah.
And then the organ, whenever he's finished, he's playing Disney music. He finishes up, and it descends into
the stage
where he has remained ever since.
The old man who lives under the stage.
It sounds like a really awesome, if slightly terrifying children's book.
I'm ready for it. There was an old man who lived under a stage. The old man suffered from rambunctious rage.
Oh, wow.
One day, the fairy queen came to his aid and gave him a crown that saved his whole race. I lost it at the end a little bit.
You could have said day or something.
No, I don't want to save his day. I want to do something a little more epic than that.
Anyway, so this man descends into his home, and then the lights turn off, and then the screen lights up. And then you watch this film, really beautiful. I mean, the theater itself is pretty magnificent. It's I think it was built in the 10s.
Like super, super. Like it's one of the first theaters, probably.
I'm pretty sure
it's got to be one of
LA's Grandpa
first.
Theater. It's just like I've been here forever. I should have if I had known we were going to talk about this, I would have looked up the stats. But it's an old theater. It's a damn old theater. Yeah. And it's beautiful,
gorgeous.
So that in and of itself is enough of an experience. However, once we were done, you would take your ticket and you would go next door to the Masonic Temple where Jimmy Kimmel shoots his show now. You would go to the Masonic Temple right across from the Grauman's, or I don't know who owns the Chinese theater now. Anyway, you go to the Masonic Temple, and it was literally 4 levels. Well, the 4th level was the basement. It was 3 levels that were designed after the movie you had just seen.
Bruh.
So, for A Bug's Life, I kid you not, it literally was a giant anthill.
Was it literally a giant anthill, or was it literally decorated like a giant anthill?
No, it was a
literal,
Disney
monstrous ants terrorizing children in this pile of dirt that they had made.
But there were Disney actors in costume pretending to be like a life-size Ada, life-size Dot. Yes, I remember
really cool.
all of their names because this was one of my favorite films.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you any of those.
And I just and I don't remember what was on the first 2 levels, but on the 3rd level they had like a play.
I could tell you what was in the basement. The man who lives under the stage.
And this was like one of the first times I remember being like really aware of kind of how marketing can influence a film. I to this day remember the toy campaign for A Bug's Life. It was phenomenal. They had these like action flick, which by the way was never in the film. He had
these
like 2 little like spike ball things.
I will say that's one thing that bugs me sometimes. When,
Does it bug you?
Gross. Anyways,
we have fun here, guys.
We have fun.
We have a lot of fun.
Like when they make toys for a movie that like the toy that they
clearly
made
didn't show up in the film.
It had no place in the movie.
Can you think of anything off the top of your head?
No.
Because I remember it was like Warrior Flick, Warrior Dot, Warrior Ada.
If I think about it more.
And, like, the film has no warrior stuff whatsoever.
Yeah, like, they never fight. Like, why are they...
Not like that. He literally has, like, these, like, nunchuck-type, like, balls, which
and
is
you're
really...
like, when does that happen?
Oh, my favorite was Frances had, like, a cannon on her back, like the ladybug.
Like...
She had, like, a cannon. P.T. Flea had a cannon on his, like, his Flea-mobile.
Oh, my gosh. Like, why?
They literally were like, let's add a cannon.
Yeah, like, I mean, either make that movie or don't make the toys.
But the point is... I remember that.
Yeah.
Vividly. Mm-hmm. I remember my birthday party that year was a Bugs Life themed.
Nice.
And then the next year, I was so excited for Toy Story 2. That was 1999. Ooh. Actually, 99, that's when the whole world opened up for me. I remember almost every marketing campaign that year. Yeah. I remember seeing posters for The Mummy. I remember when I was at VBS, which is Vacation Bible School for those who had a normal life.
Yeah. I had a normal life, and I know what VBS means.
Well, those who...
What's funny, because also 1999 for me is the first year that I just remember knowing what a year was. Like,
really?
I remember
was
knowing...
Was it because of the Y2K?
No, because it was before. That's the first year I remember, like, being in school when they're like, it's 1999. And I was like, oh, that's like, we're like counting? Like, okay. Cool. Awesome.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Nice.
So I remember I was in VBS and we had like arts and crafts, and then the newspapers they gave us, I remember looking and turning the page, and there was an entire page that was dedicated to a poster of South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. Yeah, that got right past the MPAA, by the way.
They're just
that title.
Like, yeah, that's fine. Wait, what?
Is that a penis reference?
Oh.
Yeah. Bigger, longer, and uncut. Anyway, so I remember this whole page is dedicated. It's a colorful poster if you've ever seen it. Mm-hmm. It's really, like, actually really cool. And that, I think, was 99 or was it 98? So Pokemon the first movie came out in 98. Mm-hmm. Correction. Pokemon the first movie came out in 98. I don't know when it came out in Japan, but it definitely came out here that year.
98.
And I remember the poster was the same as South Park. It was like all the characters just stuffed onto one page.
Yeah.
And that just was like,
so epic.
It was very arresting. I was like, oh my God. So literally all my pages were filled with notebooks of me like trying to copy South Park, Pokemon. I had a whole game that I had my church playing called Ram Battles, Robots and Monsters, and all the characters were basically just defective. They were great value versions of Pokemon characters.
Nice.
So I remember that in 98. I remember South Park in 99. I remember, oh my God, the campaign for Star Wars Episode 1. Pod racing everywhere.
Yeah. Pepsi
cans covered in Star Wars shit.
Ooh, I remember... Ooh, this is a random memory of mine. Okay. I remember that I have been obsessed with Doritos since I was like a kid.
Really?
Yeah, and like literally like my dad, whenever my mom would leave town, she like is like, okay, like here's the budget for feeding you and the kids.
Doritos.
And he would literally buy me a big bag of Doritos, and I'd be set for like the entire however long she was gone. And he would spend the extra money on getting himself better food. And I was like, Dad, how could you do that? And he's like, no, like you didn't want anything else. He was like, you were happy. Like he would get upset if I tried to give you anything else. And I was like, yeah, I'll give you that one. Like I wouldn't be like forcing food down my throat. I'd be like, you have fun with that. I'm gonna go get a steak. Like
wow.
But no,
shady.
it wasn't that shady.
So
but
this
it was
memory,
something like that. Dorito. I was about to say. So the Dorito, basically just simply, I remember eating a bag of Doritos, and for a while they had little like were they like pogs? They were just little.
Yes.
They were little.
I remember that.
Like circular thingies that had the characters on them. And
Are you thinking of? Was that episode 1 or 2? You wouldn't remember. Would you?
I wouldn't know.
I think that was episode 2.
Okay.
Because I remember those.
Yeah,
I remember that explicitly
they were
too. And they were like lenticular or something. Where like
yeah.
You would look at them one angle.
Holographic.
And
well, that's not really holographic. But
no, it's like you would look at them one angle. If the light hit them, they would fill in with more detail.
Mm-hmm, and then you change it, and they change.
This is how crazy. I remember that, but that was Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones.
Oh.
Because I remember I was in Texas at that time whenever I saw that.
Yeah.
And it was that was in... Yeah, it would have been whenever, what was it, 2002 that episode 2 came out? I'm not as familiar.
I feel like since I stayed in the same place, everything just kind of blurs together.
Yeah, it's a little easier for me to remember because I can actually, I'm like, because 99 I was still in California.
Also, I'm kind of oblivious to anything. Like, I still, like, when I'm out here, like, I moved when I was, like, 23, and I'll still be like, did that happen before or after I came to LA?
Right.
So, like, it's not a...
So, to finish my story, going back,
Go for it.
99... I've already built up everything else I remember. 99, second year, I'm going to the El Capitan Theater. This time for Toy Story 2. The build-up I'm super excited about. Couldn't sleep the night before. Unfortunately, they did not take the Masonic Temple and build it up like the film. They had a play.
That's cool. That's
super lame. What do you?
No. I feel like that's awesome to see it live and then
it's like, hey kid, did you like Disneyland? Yeah. How about a Chuck E. Cheese show? What the hell? Like,
what are these lame robots doing? They don't even walk.
It doesn't even go here.
Don't go here.
So you want to talk about the first time I was ever disappointed in a film? Toy Story 2. First film I was ever, and I was disappointed because the buildup was immense.
Oh,
like
okay.
That was the first time I remember being aware of like, like there's a film coming. You know, more so than even A Bug's Life.
Yeah.
Or the first Toy Story. The first Toy Story just hit me like a freight train. All I remember is being cognizant in the theater, like, huh?
Because you're so little, like you were just like you were living your life, and then you were just in front of a theater, like you're in front of a screen. Like that's how it works when you're younger. You're just places, and then you're just other places. I feel like that's how it works for me right now. I was like I'm places, and then
stop taking other places. That drugs.
Yeah, stop taking that drugs.
Stop doing the drugs. But yeah, Toy Story 2 was my first disappointment. I've since changed my thoughts on it. It's not. I still don't think it's near as good as the first one, nor is it as enjoyable as the third one. I think I literally just doze off.
Yeah.
In the or anytime it cuts back to Woody, I'm just like,
You're just so over this thing. Except the scene where Woody gets fixed, because that is the most satisfying thing that has ever been filmed.
Absolutely.
Ever. Like I just like that was my favorite part of the movie.
Really?
Absolutely.
I think my whole favorite part was the road crossing when they were in the cones.
Oh yeah.
And the only reason it was one of my favorites was not only is it a funny scene, but also because that was the main point of advertising for the film. Was like the characters with the cones on their head. And I remember that in all the posters, I remember that in all the pop-up boards.
Really?
And it just like, and I attached to that one moment. I was like, this is quintessentially what Toy Story 2 is about. It's hard to describe how much advertising and marketing has in fact impacted me as a part of a film more than the film itself. Like I would say 9 times out of 10, most of the films I remember, I'm not just remembering the film.
You're remembering marketing. So
Absolutely.
That's like a whole, it's not just the film for you, it's the whole experience and everything surrounding it.
And I think that's kind of what I wanted to give to our audience, which is just like, what's the experience behind the film and why? And it's the experience why we love films. There was a movie, I still haven't seen it yet. I can't remember what it's called, but it's about 4 boys who were never allowed. They were like raised with their dad, never allowed to leave.
Stand By Me.
No. This is a much darker. It was a documentary actually. It was based on footage they had. But these 4 boys, I don't think were ever allowed to leave their apartment. And the dad told them they couldn't leave for some reason. It seemed really dark.
4 boys, 1 dad.
Oh God, why'd you have to put it that way?
No.
The point was these kids reenacted their favorite films because that's all they had. So even when you're alone, even when it's just 4 people, films are more than they're an experience.
Yeah.
Films, funny. Pop culture, all of that.
I don't know what that movie is, but
it was called like The Wolf Pack or something. I can't remember.
But like I know American Dad did an episode like that where like Steve and all of his friends were recreating all of their favorite movies.
Interesting.
And I don't know, because there's 4 of them, so I don't know if that was reference to that movie or if it was just their thought for the episode that day, but that's interesting.
I'll have to look into that.
Yeah.
Because
look it up, because
American Dad doesn't really exist.
American Dad is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm like usually more inclined to watch that than I am Family Guy, actually, but I enjoy both.
I mean, I'd say story-wise, I get that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah,
we digress.
I digress. So that's what we want to give our audience, is just the not just the movie, but the experience. The experience. Everything around the movie. I mean, the movie and everything around it.
And everything upside down, inside out.
That I can remember, because I don't have a great memory.
So it's going to just be me talking and you being like, Doritos.
Yeah, and things in the bottom of the Doritos bag.
That's so crazy, because I have that same memory, just not with the obsession that you had.
Doritos behind it.
So I think before we sign out, what's a surprising thing that you like, or a surprising fact about you, just for our listeners?
I cry over spilled milk, and I laugh at men who live under stages. That sounded really negative. Like, if you live under a stage, that's good for you. That's awesome. Yeah, but no, I don't know. Random facts. I count steps when I walk up steps. Like, I have to count staircases. So like,
what?
Yeah. So like when I'm like running up the stairs, I'm like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
You do that for everything?
All the time. So there's 16 steps at my house in Texas. I think it was 22 steps in my high school. I'm trying to think where else there's staircases.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So
I've never noticed you doing that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I don't do it out loud. Like I do.
Do
it
you
in my
do it
head.
even for like the steps to our apartment, which are 1, 2?
Yeah, it was like 1, 2.
Do you really?
I don't know if I always do that. I probably did it the first few times, and then after I knew how many there were. But it's more. I think it's more of like a curiosity thing, maybe, than an obsessive thing.
So you're not doing it every time. You just do it every time until you know. Is that what you would say?
Yeah, because like with the 2, not with the 2 though, because with bigger staircases, I absolutely will do it every time.
Wow.
Like so, like in Texas, like if I was alone, I'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4. But if somebody's around, I'm just like 1, 2, 3, 4, like in the back of my head.
Okay. All right. Well, then a little interesting fact about me, like my knowledge of movies, where I go by year, I do that with songs as well, and I've kept every song that I've saved on my iPod.
Mm-hmm.
I've kept them in the exact same order
that I
downloaded them. Yeah. So that way I can always scroll back and go to a specific moment in my life.
Oh, that's legit.
Yeah. I do that sometimes, especially if I'm writing a script based on a time period.
Yeah.
For me particularly.
That's super cool because music does that. Like it will literally put you, like whenever I listen to some of my favorite songs from high school, like I will immediately like be back in the car like with my friends and I'm like, wow. Like so to have like a whole playlist in the exact same order would be like insane.
And the greatest part is, well, I would say the most fitting for this podcast is that 9 out of 10 songs in my iPod I discovered by other means other than them just being songs in themselves.
Yeah, they were like, so there's something that played in a movie or
in a trailer.
Yeah,
that's
like
a huge
like
one.
That. That's cool. Like that's how I discovered what's the song? You will remember me for centuries.
Oh yeah.
It's not that one. It was the one before that. My songs know what you did in the dark.
Oh yeah.
So light 'em up. That song I know because it was the advertisement for the originals when it was coming out.
That's so weird.
I was super excited for that show and I love that song now. And I'm not saying that they brainwashed me, but I'm also not saying they didn't.
No, it's true. I remember I would say The Passenger, which is like Iggy Pop's one of his like most popular songs. I only remember from the lesser known Gore Verbinski film The Weatherman, starring Nicolas Cage.
Hey.
I just remember it was a really well done trailer, and that came out in 2006. And as a kid, I was like, "Oh, I gotta see that movie.
I want to see."
I don't know why I had that voice. I gotta see that movie.
No, that's definitely how you talk. That was how it was really annoying.
Yeah, you didn't know me as a kid.
I could have.
Can you imagine if we had known each other as kids?
Do you think we would have gotten along?
Probably not. Yeah, we barely got along when we first met.
Actually, I got along with you really well when we first met, but you had reservations until like 3 months ago. It took him 8 years to come around.
You literally told me you were like,
did it.
You were like,
no,
don't cry in front of me and don't be personal in front of me because I don't care.
And then he ran away. He was like, that's all I do.
That's all I am.
Like,
no, that's literally how you introduced yourself to me. You were like, I don't care about feelings, and I don't want you to cry in front of me.
Did you specifically? Do you like specifically remember me saying that to you?
I don't. You said it. It was like contextually. What
I was
you were
like,
saying.
I know that I do give people that disclaimer. I'm like, I'm just not super emotional. Like, I just like I get uncomfortable when people cry in front of me, like, because I don't know what to do. Like, I feel bad. Like, I wish I could comfort you, but I don't know what to say.
Yeah, so I'm basically what you say. You were like, tough shit.
Tough. You're like, said the kitty, but the milk's okay.
You're like, if you want me to be your friend. Ugh.
Well, I remember the first thing you said to me because this kid literally, I love this story because it's just so random. I go to, because like I went to his mom teaches an acting class, so I went to her acting class. It was like a whole thing how my mom and his mom met.
This is back in Texas.
Years and years ago. And so I go there the first day that I'm going to be in the acting class, knock on the door. His mom answers, and I'm like, hey, like I'm here for the acting class. I'm Benji. And she goes, your name is Benji? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, oh, 1 second. And like walks off and comes back with Josiah. And I was like, hey. And she was like, hey, his name is Benji. And you go, really? And I was like, yeah. And then you go, and then you walked away. It's just like, what just happened? And no one explained it to me until I found out months later that he had just written and filmed a movie called Kids.
Kids.
But there was
with 2 Z's.
Kids with 2 Z's. But there was a character in there named Benji, and it was one of like the comic relief, like fun characters. But I was just like, discovered that myself by like looking at like through.
Yeah, I find that hard to believe.
Looking through all your stuff because I'm nosy, and I found like a poster, and it had like Benji and Scooter, and I was like, is that why he was so freaky at the door? Like, okay,
you make me sound like I'm a stranger.
You were at that point.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah,
I'll give you that. I will give you that.
Don't laugh at strangers without explaining.
Give you that.
Thank you. I'll take it.
That's my present to you.
I want a real gift too.
And my present to you listeners is that we are wrapping up this episode.
Yes.
We have a lot planned for the future.
Exactly.
We've got some really in-depth studies that we want to do, of course, with a title.
In-depth studies sounds rough. We have some conversations we want to have that might go pretty deep.
And one of those conversations, if we're gonna have a name like On Wednesdays We Wear Pink, we have to
obviously start
with Mean Girls.
With Mean Girls. So stay tuned for episode 1.
That one, well, yeah, that will be in the future. And then we have some more lighthearted, fun. I mean, that's lighthearted, but like
fun shows.
We have more like just reactionary type things. The point is, you're gonna sit here with us, and with some of our guests, and we're going to just kind of enjoy conversations together and really dive deep into how these specific moments, events, songs, films, how they've like left an impact on us or will continue to leave an impact on us.
Yes, queen.
So before we sign out, please be sure to like, subscribe, follow us. That we're going to be at Pink Popcast.
That's Pop, P-O-P.
As in Pop Culture Popcast.
Yes.
So at pinkpopcast.com, Instagram, eventually YouTube.
Yes.
And make sure that you rate.
Make sure you give us a rate and a review. 5 stars only, please. 4 stars need not apply. If you feel...
Don't say that. We'll take it all.
Oh, okay. Well, 3 stars, 4 stars or more, 3 stars or less.
Beggars cannot be choosers here.
I can choose. I feel like people are going to like spitefully give us 3 stars now.
I would.
Please don't do that. If you weren't going to vote, then don't vote.
I'm so spiteful.
I know. I was like, I'm super petty too, so I'd be like, oh yeah, 5 stars only. Here's 1.
You can't tell me what to do.
I do what I want.
I love, actually, yeah, before we started this podcast, I went to all my favorite podcasts and I read all the reviews. Mm-hmm. Some of them were scathing.
Are they really? Like, yeah. Oh, I'm interested to meet some haters. Yeah, I think we'll
you really?
Give shout outs to our haters and we'll give shout outs to our lovers. We'll do, maybe when we start getting more comments, we'll have like maybe like a 3-minute section of like shout outs to the lovers and the haters. We'll do like top 3 nicest and top 3 bitchiest comments.
All right, well, I guess that's how we're going to wrap up the show.
We'll wrap it up, at the end of the day.
It's the end of the day.
And the day is over.
The day is over.
Because it's the end of the day.
Oh, God. You grossed me out. Half of the show is just going to be you saying things and then me getting grossed out.
I just feel like that's the main thing that I'm here is just to press all of your buttons.
Yeah. Well, I'm about to press a button, and that button is stop recording.
End recording.
So, once again, from all of us here, I'm Josiah Rizzo.
All of us here? It's 2 of us.
I'm Benji.
I'm Benji.
They don't know that. They don't know how many people are. Like 7. Once again, I'm Josiah Rizzo.
I'm Benji Jones.
And on Wednesdays, we wear
pink.
Oh, God.
See, you left me hanging on the first one, so I got you on the second
one. They don't
one.
even know that. You know what? We're done. Okay, play us out. Just play us out, just future Josiah.